Thursday coffee talk. Just a plain coffee cappuccino. Make sure we are live. Yeah, thumbs up, Irene. Thursday coffee talk. Give me one moment. Just want to make sure. Yeah, we're live. I'm getting a no from my tech support here. All right, I get a thumbs up now. We're good to go. All right, thank you, thank you. Welcome to Coffee Talk Still Thursday. Let's start with a warm cup of coffee to warm our insides and get the tongue going. So did you know that the very first, oh wait, one more technical thing. Okay, Krista, you're not up for all the technicality today. Let's do record to the cloud. Okay, there we go. Did you know that the very first investment strategy I used, I was literally living inside it? And nobody talks about how house hacking is one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to regular people right now, not just people with deep pockets. I actually still own my first property in Decatur, Georgia, and it still has a great positive cash flow today. And everything I built after that started with that one move. Today we're going all the way in the how with the house hacking. So again, welcome to Coffee Talk. And if you're here, this is Coffee Talk. Real conversations about real estate and mortgage every week. No hype, no fluff, just what works. And what I'm also passionate about, like I'm passionate about income producing properties. So please hit subscribe and the bell so that you can catch every episode. And feel free to share, of course, especially if you are thinking about real estate investment, real estate financing, as you're an investor or you are inspiring to be. So let's go ahead and kick this off. Let's go. So let me tell you how this started for me personally, because I think it's going to be a place that, like, you know what? I could do this. It might resonate with you. So my first home was in Decatur, Georgia. It was actually a new construction. And I didn't just buy a place to live. Actually, my background is that I grew up in an environment of house hacking myself, raised into one, but also investment property. So I how natural part for me was house hacking my own property. I lived in part of it and made the rest work for me as an income producing property. By the way, when I first bought it, my brother also lived with me, and this was a 5 bedroom, 4 bedroom with a recreational area that I transformed into an apartment. So that home, I actually still own it, and it still produces a cash flow that is positive cash flow to this day. This was back in 1998. That one decision, that first property, is what set everything else in motion. From there, I started investing in areas I knew well or I had to relocate because of job. So next property was in Swanee, Georgia, just a few miles down the block from my job. Something happened there. This was a duplex incident of somebody trying to break in twice. And I was like, I can't do this. So I moved into the next property. And this was a townhome with a basement, which I turned, and my brother actually ended up moving into that basement and eventually made it when he moved out income producing, but I also had a roommate. So all of them were income producing. And then Peachtree Corners is when I got married. We bought our house and we also had the same intentions and we did house hacking. So my focus has always been on building a portfolio that actually generates wealth, or like my mom's mindset, income for retirement. So it doesn't just look good on paper, it also has an impact on the cash flow. And I'm licensed in both Georgia and Florida, which means I've seen this market up close because England and Florida, that was my intention. But I was outbid honestly by cash buyers. So I know there are opportunities out there, and I know actually people can get burned. So when I talk about house hacking today, I'm not reading from a textbook. I'm talking from my experience, and I want that experience to be a shortcut for your path. So what actually is house hacking? At its simplest, you buy a property, you live in part of it, and you rent out the rest to offset or cover your housing cost. That's it. That's really it. You are both a homeowner and an investor at the same time. Your biggest monthly expense, your housing, because zero or even a source of income is definitely your biggest cost is the housing. That'll be renting or owning a home. So when you have a cash flow, that helps offset that. So when you eliminate that expense, everything accelerates. Your savings rate, your ability to invest again, your momentum. That is why this is where so many investors, including myself, they begin. All right. I'm going to share with you 4 main ways people house hack, and I'll tell you where each one is working right now. Number one, multifamily plex. That means 2 units, duplex, triplex, 4 units, fourplex. You live in one unit, you rent the others. That's a classic, powerful, and the most impactful version because multiple rents can wipe out your mortgage entirely. Up to 4 units still actually qualifies you for an owner-occupied financing. Most residential lenders can actually only finance up to 4 units, which is the requirement. 4 units maximum, but you do occupy 1 unit. Number two, you have a spare room strategy. Same as I did. My brother lived into a room, then rented the others. I literally bought or furnished my place or the lawnmower that I cut the grass, all those by renting the spare rooms. Because was my first job when my first home. So a single family that you are renting out bedrooms. It's a lower barrier to entry. It's a great starting point, and platforms like Furnish Finder is great to find either traveling nurses or professionals who need a place for a few months. So you don't do like an Airbnb per se if you don't want that revolving door in your own property. Number three, the ADU approach. I feel the ADU became more popular during our pandemic time. The basement apartments, the garage conversion, the backyard cottage. I did a conversion of the recreational area and it became a one-bedroom apartment. Now, this was back in 1999. Right away, I did that. So you live in the main house and you rent the ADU. You're adding value to the property while actually generating income. This one is growing fast. Cities across the country have been relaxing the zoning laws, especially to allow more ADUs. Did I say to you guys what ADU is? It's basically an additional dwelling unit on the property, and it's not a multifamily, and the laws have improved for those. So an ADU, multifamily, house hacking, you basically can set this up with either short-term or mid-term rental split. A detached unit, a space with its own entrance for Airbnb, for VRBO, or Furnish Finder for 30-day plus. In the right setup, this generates generally more than the long-term tenant because it's a seasonal, but it's usually like Furnish Finder. I've personally used it as a tenant when I've traveled, and I do it for about 2-3 months, 1 month. So nationally, the strongest house hacking markets right now are in the Midwest and the smaller southern cities, places like Cleveland, Dayton, I said Shreveport, Montgomery, and the medium duplex prices under $200,000 rents that cover the mortgage, and they are low barrier to entry. And up in the Northeast, like New Hampshire, areas that I stayed about 8 months, as well as the upstate New York, especially, the multifamily housing stock is deep. These are old mill towns built with 2 and 3 family homes as a standard. I was mind blown by when I saw the structure of the homes there. And there's inventory. The numbers work if you are in that region. The infrastructure for house hacking was literally built into the architecture. Now, let's talk back about Georgia and Florida, the markets where I'm licensed. And I'm going to be honest with you. In Georgia, especially in the Atlanta metro, like the areas that I've been, Gwinnett, Duluth, even the Cobb areas, multifamily inventory is very thin. You might actually find them in Fulton County, but they're a little bit older, but it's very thin. And if you look right now, you probably will find 0 active duplexes in the Duluth area, for instance. And when one comes up, you are competing hard. And here's what is happening in that market. Many of the buyers for these properties are not running investor math. They are running how much less is this than my rent kind of math. Someone sees a duplex where their mortgage would be $2,800 and they're currently paying $2,200 in rent. And they think, well, I live in one side, then I rent for $1,400, I net $1,400 a month to live. So that's a win for them. But a pure cash flow investor, that same deal might look like a negative $500 a month. They say, well, I don't want to go into this with a negative math. Well, the math is different. Same property, different buyer. And the buyer who doesn't need it to fully cash flow is your competition. So in Florida, for instance, Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, Orlando, rental demand is real. And those cities have always attracted house hikers. But here's the truth in 2026. Florida has a rent softness problem right now. Rents are down roughly 3% year over year statewide. Multifamily oversupply in several markets means vacancy rates are up and landlords are offering concessions. Insurance costs, especially in the coastal areas, have gone up significantly. And they are a real line item that kills the cash flow calculations that look good on paper. Florida realtors themselves said it clearly, they said it clearly earlier this year. House hacking in Florida has shifted from an eliminates the mortgage strategy to reducing the housing costs and builds equity strategy. And that's still very valuable, but you need to go with your eyes open. So what does that mean? In Georgia and in Florida right now, the multifamily play at full cash flow may require you to invest into value-added properties. So if you're buying this property and you may need to upgrade, you may need to invest into them, buy something below market, improve it, bring the rent to current standards, and then the numbers may start making sense. Like I said at the beginning, I attempted to do that and I was outbid by the numbers did not make sense with the cost of multifamily in I was in Fort Lauderdale area in Broward, and then the rents that they currently are having being so low because of the market influx in the value people selling them. So you may not find the turnkey duplex in some of those areas that bring cash flow on day one, but if you find one that needs work and you can execute on it, that's where the real opportunity is. Now, I've said this is like low entry. Let me break down quickly on the financing. FHA, you can buy multifamily 3.5%. 2 to 4 units, 3.5% down. Conventional, 5%. VA, 0. Rental income counting toward qualification, you have rate advantage of owner-occupied versus investment property loans. So let me run some numbers for you, and I mean real numbers for 2026. Rates right now, depending on your program, in the fives, really sixes. for owner-occupied properties. And property taxes, especially let's say in Georgia and Florida, I'm going to budget it at about 1.25%. In Florida, maybe it'll be more 1.5, but we're going to use 1.25%. And um, this is what the math is going to look like for a $350,000 house, putting 5% down on a duplex, 6.25% interest rate, let's say. Principal and interest, 2060, taxes 365, estimated tax insurance 175. There's mortgage insurance. So you're looking at about, let's say, $2,700 more or less. Just a quick math. The unit rents for $1,350. You are out of pocket $1,250. It is still well below market rent in most of Atlanta, or even Florida areas. Now, is that living rent-free scenario story? No, it's not. But it's $1,200 to $1,250 a month to own a property, build equity, and become an investor. So absolutely yes, especially when a comparable apartment in the Gwinnett areas is renting closer to $2,000 to $2,500 with nothing to show for it. Scenario number two, you have a fourplex at $500,000 home, buying FHA 3.5% down. This is the rate is about 6%. When we do the principal, the interest, the taxes, the insurance, you're looking at about $3,800. About each unit, let's say, and I'm not sure. It depends on the property, right? But let's say they only rent for $1,100 each. That's $3,300 a month. You are out of pocket $545 a month. That's it. You have a mortgage, you have a property that's going to accrue in interest, $545 that you got to pay. Half of a month's rent to own four doors. That's what they call it. It's like how many units you own? I own four doors. That is still a remarkable outcome. And when you move out after 1 year, because when you buy owner occupied, your intention is to stay in the property for at least 1 year, you turn it into a fully rental property. The fourth unit is a rental. That property starts producing actually cash flow now because now you have that extra income coming in. Here's the honest truth I want you to take from this. The live completely free and pocket extra cash flow scenario that maybe worked in 2020, 2021 requires either a lower priced market or a value add in today's environment. The strategy is still powerful. The math is just more precise now. You need to know the numbers going in, and you need to run them honestly, which is exactly what we just did. So let's talk about who is this for? Let's talk about who it fits. Because house hacking is one of the best strategies out there. And it's also not the right move for everyone, though. Knowing which category you're in saves you the time and the money. House hacking is built for you if you're in a season of life where you can handle proximity to tenants. When I bought my home, I just graduated from Georgia State University, single woman. So know that for at least 1 year, you're gonna have the proximity. If you buy a duplex, you have a neighbor. They're renting rooms. They're down the hall. You don't have to love it. You just have to be okay with it for a period of time in exchange for the massive financial advantage. It's also built for you if you want to learn how to be a landlord with the low risk way possible with the property that you live in. Before you go out and buy the standalone rental, which usually requires 20 to 25% down. And it's built for you if you want to start building a portfolio without needing six-figure in the bank. House hacking isn't really for someone who has a family that they want privacy, right? There's no flexibility there. Or if you're in a market where even with rental income, the numbers simply don't justify the investment. How to run the numbers. And we just talk about those markets, where those markets are. Or if you're being a landlord, the maintenance calls, the tenant's conversation, the late rent, just had a call from a tenant that says the bathroom, the toilet needs to be changed, things of that nature. If that's not in you, then You may not be right for it, and it's okay. There are other paths. So here's what I've seen through. Um, Most people who try house hacking say it permanently changes how they think about money in real estate. The worst case scenario is you own a property, you build equity, and you eventually move on. And that still is a win, mostly in this current market. All right. Here's what I want you to do this week. Not next week, not tomorrow, not Sunday. This week. Step one, know your numbers before you look at a single property. Pull your credit score. Free credit report types. Few annual credit report. Write down your income and your monthly debts. If you don't know the financial picture, you don't know what you qualify for. It takes about 30 minutes. You can have a conversation with me and I'll go through your pre-qualification that way. Step number two, start looking at small multifamily in your target area right now. Even if you're not ready to buy tomorrow, start seeing what duplexes, triplexes, what units are available, what they sell for, how much they can rent for. Know your market. What does the rent to mortgage ratio look like in your neighborhood? Start building that intuition now so that when the right deal comes, you'll be able to recognize it and you'll be able to move forward. And remember, we talked about Georgia and Florida. If you find a deal that cash flows out of the box, look for IUR. If it doesn't cash flow out of the box, look for how you can improve, bring it to upgrades that can bring in the cash flow. Look for what needs upgrading and then renting it to meet the rent that you need. Step three, get your financing conversation done first. And that's where I come in. I'm licensed in Georgia and Florida, but my company is also able to help. So I can partner with my colleagues and we can help you get the financing. So I can help. Multifamily, FHA conventional. We cannot use DSCR on this because you're occupying. So just know that, but I do offer DSCR. So there are traditional ways to go ahead and get this financing. The link to connect with me is in my bio. Feel free to book a call with me. Let's look at your numbers together before you fall in love with the property and let's avoid the surprises. The people who win at house hacking are the people who do the work before the deal. Get your financing picture clear first. Everything else follows from that. So that's today's coffee talk. If this hit home for some of you, know that I'm here to help you. Not just from the textbook, but also from my experience, from my living of real estate investment from 1998, and even as a child raising that environment. Share that information, share with your friends and family. Listen to it again. Book a call. Let's go ahead and look at your numbers. So, of course, you remember on YouTube, you got to subscribe so you can be ready for the next live. And we're going to go deeper, maybe potentially DSCR, but it's really a series of real estate investment. It's a game changer. I'll see you there.